Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Alpha, the show where we talk about the hottest topics in the world of pop culture and sports. I am your host, Jayden, aka Jay, whatever you would like to call me, and I got an exciting episode ready for you guys, and I got a jam-packed show for my audience. Today, we are going to be talking about mainly sports. It's going to be pretty much all sports. I want to mess around with a new format that I have been formulating where I would divide my shows specifically for sports and then one specifically for pop culture, comics, and things of that nature. I just want to mess with it and see if I could gravitate audiences more because I've seen a shift in my analytics in my podcast. I'm trying to just change things up. But let me know if you guys like this concept. Do not hesitate to hit the like button on my podcast. Look down below and catch it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well if you want to listen to it while your phone is turned off. Also, recommend it to your friends and family and anybody else who would possibly enjoy my content. I thank you guys again for joining me. Do not hesitate to subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, we're going to get right into it. The first news, hello everyone. I just wanted to give you guys a brief disclaimer, letting you guys know I did have some audio issues while filming this podcast. For some reason, OBS updated and my computer updated and didn't recognize my microphone as an audio source for my picture-in-picture overlay scene. So I essentially had to cut that portion out of the video because each section was 2 minutes long worth of me talking with no audio. And I know you guys don't want to watch that. I don't even want to watch that either. So to keep you guys up to date, I'm going to try and cut it the best way I can to make it flow like it should. But I might leave it in the timestamps, obviously, in the video. But we did talk about Brock Purdy's contract extension of him getting 5 years, $263 million. Then we talked about Scottie Scheffler winning the PGA Championship and my experiences with golf. Then we talked about the Caleb Williams story that released last week regarding Caleb Williams not originally wanting to be drafted by the Chicago Bears. And then lastly, I talked about the Dallas Cowboys, their schedule release, and I predicted their overall record throughout the whole season. So that's what we talked about. I'm sorry, this is not happening again. I am going to make sure going forward that my scenes and stuff are ready to go before I record. Thank you guys and enjoy. How is the Niners' future with this deal? I first want to point off and give my credit and give credit where credit is due to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is a player who is Mr. Irrelevant, was the last pick in the draft in his draft class. He is a player who was not getting paid any money at all. I believe there was a story 2 years ago when they made it to the NFC Championship game, or last year in the Super Bowl, that his parents were still paying for his way into an apartment. He was never looked at as this gifted quarterback going into the draft. A lot of people think he was lucky to even be drafted. And in the 3 years that he was the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, he led the 49ers to an NFC Championship berth, and he led them to a Super Bowl. A lot of people have argued the year they went to the NFC Championship game, Brock Purdy had gotten hurt. And I, for one, was one of those people. I really think the Niners would have beat the Eagles at Philadelphia. That's how good the 49ers were that year. They just acquired Christian McCaffrey. They were that good of a team. But let's get into that. And again, congratulations, Brock Purdy. It was deserved. It was earned. He put into work. He doubted the doubters wrong, and he showed his value, and he gets to enjoy that money with his family and his friends, and he deserves it 100%. But how is the 49ers' future outlook with this deal? We know that good GMs are good at manipulating contracts. Jalen Hurts, for instance, is getting paid $50 million a year. But they are still finding the Eagles and Howie Roseman are still finding a way to be able to pay their good players and establish pieces around Jalen Hurts. The general consensus around Brock Purdy has been that he needed the Avengers essentially is what they called them to be able to succeed. Because in the last 2 seasons, we saw when Trent Williams was hurt, Deebo Samuel was hurt, when Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL, when there were instances where Christian McCaffrey wasn't available this past year, Brock Purdy wasn't as successful as he was with those guys. Specifically this past season, the 49ers had a pretty dreadful season. They were 7-10, didn't make the playoffs, didn't have a good year, and that led them to having as the high of a draft pick as they had. And in this past year, Deebo Samuel was hurt. Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. Christian McCaffrey was not available at all, hardly. Trent Williams was hurt as well. The really only reliable targets that Brock Purdy did have was basically George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk. I can't remember Brandon. I don't know if it was Brandon Jennings, something Jennings. Janoris Jenkins is his name. Janoris Jenkins was the wide receiver. Ricky Pearsall was a wide receiver they drafted a year ago. It was his rookie season, so he was getting acclimated into the offense. So Brock Purdy was relatively handicapped. He wasn't given a good hand. But with this deal, one can argue that it's going to be the hand that Brock Purdy is going to be dealt for the rest of his tenure at the 49ers. They obviously traded away Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, and to Brock Purdy's defense, Deebo Samuel relatively didn't have a great year. A lot of people have been claiming he's been out of shape. I can relatively agree to that. Deebo Samuel has just not been himself the last couple of seasons. They extended Fred Warner to relieve the Niners of that massive cap hit they were fixing to have. They have been flirting with the idea of trading Brandon Ayuk. They gave Brandon Ayuk that contract, and I guess he tore his ACL, and now they're not 100% if they even like the deal. Trent Williams is getting old. I really think Trent Williams has probably got 1 or 2 good seasons left in him, and that's being generous. And this contract signed Brock Purdy with the 49ers for the next 6 years. George Kittle is still in his prime, but I don't see a scenario in another 3 years where George Kittle is going to be. George Kittle will still be a great tight end, don't get me wrong, but I don't see a scenario in the back half of Brock Purdy's contract where George Kittle is going to be a difference maker, because George Kittle has had some injury concerns, but he was relatively healthy this last year. Another player we have to think about is Christian McCaffrey as well. Christian McCaffrey cannot stay healthy. When he is healthy, he is the best running back in the league. All respect to Saquon Barkley. We have to think of it in that perspective. Defensively, you have Fred Warner still. You have Joey Bosa. And there's no other guys there. You lost Ward, the cornerback. You lost him in free agency. Hufanga, the safety. You lost him in free agency. You lost Dre Greenlaw in free agency. You released Javon Hargrave, the defensive tackle. You just a lot of people didn't like your draft defensively and offensively, and your draft as a whole. The 49ers, as presently constructed, are not a great team. So Brock Purdy has an uphill climb. Do I think Brock Purdy will lead the 49ers to another Super Bowl? Absolutely not. I don't think that. And that's not particularly Brock Purdy's fault. I just don't think that the team that is presently constructed is not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Not in a division that is on the rise. I don't foresee that. Because Brock Purdy is not a Patrick Mahomes-esque type of quarterback. He's not a Tom Brady-esque type of quarterback. He doesn't make those around him. He doesn't uplift the talent around him. That is not a knock on him at all. But when we look at Brock Purdy and the GM John Lynch is going to have to nail the draft like Howie Roseman and the Eagles have. They've drafted pretty much all the pieces that they have outside of A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. You got two guys. But the 49ers had those two guys the last couple of seasons, and they have had their shots. You had the Brandon Ayuk. You had a healthy Christian McCaffrey. You had a healthy Deebo Samuel. Trent Williams was still balling. George Kittle was still balling. Great offensive line. I don't see a scenario where the Niners win a Super Bowl. They did have to lock in their future at quarterback because the 49ers have played QB carousel for the last couple of years. They knew Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't the answer. A lot of people didn't really think Brock Purdy was going to be the answer. Do the 49ers have a cornerstone of players to lean on? Absolutely. For the next foreseeable years, you got Fred Warner and you got Joey Bosa. You got Brock Purdy. Hopefully you can have Christian McCaffrey for a numerous amount of years as well. And George Kittle. But I don't see the Brock Purdy and the 49ers going to another Super Bowl. That is the end goal. You have to win a Super Bowl. A bright side to this, though, is that the 49ers have the weakest schedule in the NFL this year. Should they possibly be able to make the playoffs this year? I think so. But they are in a pretty gauntlet of a division. You're in a division with the division favorite, who I have winning the division this year, with the Los Angeles Rams. Many argue that if Sam Darnold is just decent enough, the Seattle Seahawks could be a great team as well. I don't see the Cardinals really doing much. I think that the 49ers could do better than the Cardinals because I just don't trust Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon. I think it still needs some work. So the 49ers are looking at a wild card spot, potentially. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I really do think, are the 49ers going to be able to contend for a Super Bowl? Absolutely. I just don't think they will ever get to one. Their window has been open for the last 6 years. They have not capitalized on the moment. A lot of that has been due to injuries, and it's not been their fault. The 49ers have been plagued with bad luck when it comes to that aspect of the game. But I do not see a scenario where the San Francisco 49ers under Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy going to another Super Bowl. It's a hard truth, but relative to this contract, they believed in Brock Purdy. They still think that Brock Purdy could lead them to a Super Bowl. But as presently constructed and in a future outlook under this contract, unless the 49ers hit home draft picks, specifically on the defensive side of the ball at cornerback, at defensive back period, and probably get a couple of wide receivers in these next upcoming drafts, and reassuring and beefing the offensive line, they're not going to be contending for anything. Again, I want to congratulate Brock Purdy. It's an amazing story. It's great for his family. It's a great story to tell his kids. And it's a great story for any person in life who is going through adversity and is being doubted, that you are good enough to do anything you want to do. Brock Purdy was seen as Mr. Irrelevant. Everybody doubted him. People are still doubting him to this day, as I am talking on this podcast. But at the end of the day, this man got $53 million. He got $53 million a year. He got $265 million altogether. And it is generationally life-changing money for not only his family, but his family after him. So congratulations to Brock Purdy, and all hope and all faith that he does well, and I'm sending my good luck to him in the future. The next topic we're going to be talking about, let me know what you guys think about my comments on that regarding the 49ers. And do you think they are going to get to another Super Bowl? Did you think signing Brock Purdy was the right idea? I want to know everything and your thoughts down below. The very next topic we're going to talk about is something interesting, something new, a different sport that I have not talked about. My main two have been basketball and football. And you might think, well, Jayden, you are a pretty good baseball guy. Your team just won the World Series, and you played that sport, but it's not baseball. We're going to talk about some golf. I had the opportunity of recently going to the PGA Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a native of North Carolina. Charlotte is relatively 2 hours away from me. My cousin is a big golf fan, so I had the opportunity last Wednesday to go to the practice round of the PGA Championship. Mind you, I only knew Bryson DeChambeau and obviously Rory McIlroy as the two main golfers that I was aware of. I knew Scotty Scheffler as well to a certain degree. And obviously, well, I won't say and obviously. Where I live at is golf is becoming very popular among the male audience and the male population in my county. And I started to get into it as well. Going to this PGA Championship was a step into that direction because I actually watched the Masters and I watched and was able to witness Rory McIlroy witness history because me personally, I am a Brian DeChambeau guy. I have to say, y'all, I enjoyed watching the PGA Championship. I watched all 4 days. I was pulling for Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. Those were my guys. It was a great sport to watch. It was a great experience to watch. But specifically, the story we're going to talk about is the man who won the PGA Championship in Scotty Scheffler. Was he fantastic all week? He had a relatively okay Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, specifically Saturday, he kicked it into another gear. He was 11 under going into Sunday, I believe, if I am not mistaken. Absolutely flawless all weekend. Scotty Scheffler won his third major in the last 3 years. He won the 2022 Masters. He won the last year's Masters in 2024. And now he has won the 2025 PGA Championship. So he is really missing an Open Championship to his name and a U.S. Open. Scotty Scheffler, ladies and gentlemen, is a great golfer. Overall, all weekend, it was a great week of golf. I had a great time. I am enjoying golf. I think it's a great sport. The amount of people that were there was fascinating to me. It was very interesting. I got to be able to experience seeing a lot of people from ESPN there covering it. I was actually in the same vicinity where the fella, I don't remember the guy's name, but he was on the Pat McAfee show on Wednesday. That was very cool. They filmed him right when I was right behind him. That was an amazing experience. And I got interviewed by the Panthers running back Jonathan Stewart as well on his social media page. I was hoping to see that he was going to post my interaction with him, but he never did. Basically, me and him had our interaction. He was questioning me about my outfit, and I actually asked him I got my journalistic hat on, and I actually asked him, I was like, Jonathan, what was it like to play with Cam Newton, the all-time great Panthers player? I say is the greatest Panther of all time. He put the city of Charlotte on the map, and he told me that, and he answered me some questions. So I was hoping that he was going to post our interaction, but I think he cut us out, sadly. It was a great experience, and it was very fun. I had a fun day. Golf is a great sport. I can honestly say I crapped on golf for a long time. I remember when I was in high school, late middle school, early high school, and all throughout high school, I crapped on golf. I thought golf was just for older people. But since the last 2 or 3 years, it has grown on me. Watching on TV, it has grown on me. And I am enjoying it. I think golf is a great sport. I think it's in a good spot, specifically with that That new format they were doing with the digital golf thing, I don't know who was over that. I think the guy who owns, might have been the LA Rams. One of the owners for the NFL helped put it up, if I'm not mistaken. Do not let me know down below in the comments who exactly that was. But he's the one who put it on, and it was a great. ESPN helped host it on the air. It was great. I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. The game of golf is great, and Scotty Scheffler and other golfers, Rory McIlroy, Brian DeChambeau, the future is very bright for the game of golf. There's still some legends out there. Tiger Woods is still going to play. Phil Mickelson. A lot of the old OGs that we truly love are still playing the game of golf. Be on the lookout for me possibly talking a lot more golf when these majors come around. It's a great time, it's a fun time to watch, and it's a very entertaining to watch. Golf has grown on me, guys. I can honestly say that. Do you guys enjoy golf? Let me know what y'all guys have about the golf experience. Let me know any of your golf expertise down below in the comments. Who's like the best golfers? I really don't know outside of the people I've talked about. I know like guys like Brooks Koepka, Bryce DeChambeau, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. Even although Phil Mickelson did not have a great Thursday and Friday whatsoever in the PGA Championship. Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, Wingwoo Kim, two of the Asian guys, they were really good as well. And I think that's pretty much I'm missing in Rory McIlroy. So those are my guys that I really do know. Educate me a little bit. I am open to education. I am enjoying the golf game. And I had a great time last week, and it was a great experience. Let me know any questions down below that you guys thought about this topic. I thought it was a fun little talking point to talk about because the PGA Tour is a big championship. It was held in my hometown in Quail Hollow, and it was a great experience, and I enjoyed it. But let's get back on track. We got a big story here. We got a very big story. So Caleb Williams, there was an interesting story that came out last week about Caleb Williams. It was a very alarming story at first, but it's something that happened with Shedeur Sanders and something that happened with the Manning brothers. There was a story that came out talking about Caleb Williams and his pre-draft scenarios that happened or events that happened before he eventually got drafted by the Bears. This has come from a book that is fixing to come out by, I didn't write down who the book was from, but it was a big report that came out and people were making a whole hoopla about it. But here are the details about it. Caleb Williams considered signing with the UFL. Caleb Williams pondered working with the Bears offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. Caleb Williams' father stated explicitly, Chicago is where QBs go to die. He also said that he didn't want his son playing for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, when he had an interview with Kevin O'Connell, the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings, he originally wanted to go there, and he said he wanted to play for Minnesota. Mind you guys, all of this was in the pre-draft interviews and pre-draft stuff from the combine, all leading up to the draft. All of this is when these events were occurring. Finally, in a pre-draft visit with the Bears, Caleb Williams finally said to himself, he can do it for this team, and I quote, meaning that he was ready to get drafted by the Chicago Bears. This is no surprise, okay? Caleb Williams, at his tenure in college, was regarded as one of the best, greatest college quarterbacks to play the game. He was super talented. A lot of people were comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are still considering Caleb Williams possibly being the next Patrick Mahomes. He won the Heisman Trophy. He arguably could have won 2 of them. This is how good Caleb Williams was. When he was at Oklahoma, with Lincoln Riley and followed Lincoln Riley to USC the last 2 years. When Caleb Williams was originally supposed to come out, and the rumors were him coming out of the draft because he had more years of eligibility, and this is when NIL was going on, right when during the college tenure of Caleb Williams. And a lot of people were speculating that Caleb Williams was possibly going to skip the draft and play another year of college football and make more NIL money. But we know in these guys' heart of hearts, the ultimate dream is to go to the NFL, to make it to the NFL. Guys, y'all got to understand that before the Bears bye, the Bears had a great record. They were playing some good football. I don't remember exactly what their record was. I wish I would have wrote it down because as I'm talking to you, I didn't think about this point when I was planning this episode of the show. But the Bears had a great record going into their bye. Before the viral play and when they played the Commanders in that game, where Tariq Stevenson was out there celebrating, and then Washington had that big Hail Mary play. I don't know if that was I think that was the first game after their bye. Everything was downhill after that event, but before that, Caleb Williams' tenure with the Bears was off to a relatively solid start. Given the history of the Bears franchise, a franchise who has been football poverty for a very long time since Mike Ditka was there. Okay? Caleb Williams was playing some good ball. Ryan Poles formulated a good team, relatively good team. At the end of the day, the offensive line was the Achilles heel because Caleb Williams was running for his life. Then after that, you had coaching malpractice going on. Matt Eberflus, head coach, in over his head. No, not a good. The offensive coordinator, I can't even remember who exactly they promoted to the head coaching role once they fired Matt Eberflus, in over his head as well. So what did Ryan Poles and the Bears do this offseason? They got the best hot head coach candidate out there in Ben Johnson. They traded and drafted O-linemen, beefing up the offensive line for Caleb Williams. And they bring him in a wide receiver who has a lot of potential in Luther Burden. So now at the wide receiver position, you have DJ Moore, Roman Duze, and Luther Burden, along with a very stud tight end that a lot of people like in Loveland from Michigan. You drafted him at tight end, as well as you have Cole Kmet, alongside a defense that played relatively well last year. So we got to kind of somewhat give Caleb Williams some credit because he made the Chicago Bears aware that stars don't want to come to this team. A generational talent like Caleb Williams did not want to play for that franchise originally. They made the Bears aware of that, and the Bears have been proactive in trying to formulate a team that is well-rounded and able to meet the needs of Caleb Williams. I don't know why this story was such a big of a deal. I think it turned out to benefit Caleb Williams and the Bears, in my opinion. One can argue that possibly this is a bad look for future quarterbacks coming into the league. This is something that Shedeur Sanders did just this past draft, and it possibly killed his draft stock. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of people, this was after this story had came out, a lot of people were wanting the NFL to adopt the NBA draft lottery and the way they do the draft, and that the top 10 picks are basically put in a lottery system. They put them in this little ball, and it's picked like a lottery. Because a lot of people don't like the aspect that the worst team gets the first pick and quarterbacks are not put in a good situation. We got to think about the great quarterbacks in the league. The Patrick Mahomes, the Tom Brady's. Patrick Mahomes was a 10th overall pick. He wasn't the top quarterback picked in that draft. He fell into a good situation. Tom Brady fell in a good situation. Lamar Jackson fell in a good situation. Not many quarterbacks are fortunate to have good run franchise be picked first in wherever they're drafted. And in Caleb Williams' defense, he was set up to be drafted by arguably a top 3 worst run franchise in the NFL historically. To the Bears' credit, the last season and a half, since Ryan Poles has been the GM, they're kind of course correcting as we go. So I don't think there's much of this story, specifically with Caleb Williams' father. He's looking out for his kid. He wants his kid to be put in the best position that he wanted to be. There was never no consideration of him going to the UFL. That was just a stupid negotiating tactic to try and get the Bears not to draft his son. That had nothing to do with anything, because like Caleb Williams said, he liked the idea of going to Minnesota, led by Kevin O'Connell. Minnesota is a relatively well-run franchise as well, but there was never no scenario where he was going to the UFL. I don't believe that in no way, form, or aspect. That's just my 2 cents on that story. I wish all the success to Caleb Williams. He deserves his success, and I think Caleb Williams can be a great quarterback for the NFL product and the Bears fans. The Bears have a bright future, and they are a team to look out for, and they are one of my most interesting teams going into the 2025-2026 NFL season. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. What is your outlook of the Chicago Bears going into the 2025-2026 season? Let me know all of that down below in the comments. Lastly, our final topic we are going to talk about today is my Dallas Cowboys. The schedule did release last week, so we got a final full look of what their schedule looks like. And on this podcast, we are going to interact, and I'm going to give my wins and losses for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have this written down. We're going to do this as we go. I'm not specifically like wowed about them putting the Cowboys opening night. I still would have wished they would have probably put them on Sunday. But kudos to them, because we haven't been able to see Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott duel it out the last couple of years since Jalen Hurts has been there. Either Dak Prescott's been hurt or Jalen Hurts has been hurt. We have not been able to see the Eagles and the Cowboys face off against each other full strength, because during the last half of the season, well, the last couple of years, the Cowboys have faced the Eagles the last 6 weeks of the season. And by that time, people's banged up, people's hurt. And it's been going on like this for the last 3 years. So kudos to the NFL for putting this game as early as they did and being able to allow audiences and NFL fans to consume a rivalry like that full strength. I congratulate them 100%. Moving on to the next game, we have the Giants under the new regime of Brian Daboll. I imagine Russell Wilson is going to be their quarterback. So led by their new acquisition in second overall pick in Abdul Carter, or third overall pick, I'm sorry. I have the Dallas Cowboys winning this game. They are going to be playing the Giants at home. I don't think the Giants are going to be good this year. I still don't. I think the Giants are still going to be the worst team in the division. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with their quarterback room. Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson. What are they going to do? I think it's going to be a Patrick Mahomes type thing where Russell Wilson takes the helm all year and Jackson Dart is just going to sit down and wait it out till next year. I think that's what they are going to do. Week 3, the Chicago Bears at Chicago. This is tough. Their first 4 weeks is brutal, guys. There's a possibility they either split these games or they're going to start off 1-3. I'm gonna be honest. As much as I like Chicago this coming up this year, I'm believing in the Chicago hype. I'm believing in Ben Johnson. If this game was at home, I would probably feel different about this game. Historically, we do not play well in Chicago. We even lost to Chicago a couple of years ago on the road when we did play them. So I'm giving the Dallas Cowboys a loss to the Chicago Bears. That game scares me. The very next game, the team that haunts our dreams at Jerry World, the Green Bay Packers. I'm just go ahead and put an L there. Listen, I don't love the Packers. I think the Packers could still possibly contend for the playoffs this coming up season. Jordan Love got drafted their first wide receiver in a very long time in Matthew Golden. Christian Watson stays hurt. I see them going off of him in a couple of years. You still got Jayden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, and then their other guy, I can't remember his name, like number 13 or whatever. Great wide receiver core. Got Josh Jacobs, good offensive line, relatively good defense as well. Historically, it's just the Packers own us in Jerry World. Y'all saw we all remember what they did to us in the wild card round. Okay, so I have no faith in Dallas winning this game. Hopefully something changes, and something drastically shifts to where there's a possibility that Dallas does win this game, but I do not see a scenario where Dallas wins this game because of history and how that black cat is still running around that franchise when it comes to the Packers playing the Cowboys. So I have the Packers beating the Cowboys at Jerry World. But this is when it gets good. They play the Jets on the road. I'm giving the Dallas Cowboys a win. I'm not sold on the Jets' new regime yet. They're off to a good start. You got Sauce Gardner. You got Garrett Wilson. You drafted a new O-line. Arguably, a lot of people thought the best O-lineman in the draft. So you shored up the offensive line. There are a lot of trade talks going on with Bryce Hall. And obviously, you got Justin Fields at the helm. You got a defensive head coach who is a great defensive head coach, might I add. He did a great job with the Detroit Lions. For some reason, I can't think of his name. I always forget this dude's name for some reason, but he was part of the Dan Campbell culture that was in with the Lions. He had a great defense over there. So he is going to be the culture guy. I don't know if he's going to be calling the defense. I think he's going to be a Mike Tomlin type of guy, which I think Mike Tomlin does call the defense for the Steelers as well. But he's going to have that type of effect on the New York Jets. I just don't think the team is good enough to possibly overpower the Cowboys. And it's still under 5 weeks. I still think they're going to be working out the kink of things. So I have the Dallas Cowboys going into MetLife and beating the Jets. Next week, week 6, they are going to be headed to Carolina. Charlotte, North Carolina. I would hopefully be able to go to this game. They're going to be facing off against the Carolina Panthers. I have them winning this game as well. I still believe in Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young can still have a promising future. Dave Canales, he just has to continue to build a great team around the Panthers. They did a good job drafting Tedero and McMillan. So getting Bryce Young some help. I just still think the Panthers still need some work. I still think the Dallas Cowboys are a better football team than the Carolina Panthers. Week 7 at home against Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. I'm giving the Cowboys a win. Go ahead and kill me in the comments, all the Commanders fans. We got Jayden Daniels. Look, I understand. I do have a splitting with the Commanders. Mind you guys, the Commanders, we beat the Commanders. The Commanders allowed the Cowboys to go in there and beat them in the final play of the game last year. Or am I wrong? Or did the Commanders beat us? I just remember that big play happening that the Commanders had to come back. But I still think the Cowboys won that game because we were mad. I was mad because I was wanting a draft pick. Yeah, I think they dropped that final game to us last year. So the Cowboys can beat the Commanders. I think they're going to trade off this year, but I have the Commanders losing to the Cowboys at home. So I have Dallas winning that game. Week 8, going to Denver on the road. I like Bo Nix. I love what the Denver Broncos have been doing. I love what they done last year. This is an interesting game. This could possibly be a pick'em game, but historically, Cowboys don't play good against Denver as well. For some odd reason, I don't know why. This one is at Denver. Mile High City. Got to deal with the altitude on the road. I'm giving the Dallas Cowboys an L. I don't see a scenario. I can't say that. I do see a scenario where they could possibly win this game, but I just This game, I just don't like that matchup. I really don't. It's just because of Sean Payton. And I believe while Bo Nix and then with second year of Bo Nix led under Sean Payton, yeah. It's going to be a close game, though. This is a pick 'em game. I think the Cowboys, this is one of these games that either team could win. So flip-flop it. At the end, we'll probably see which games the Cowboys could possibly flip. It's one of these games. Week 9 against the Arizona Cardinals, I'm giving the Cowboys a win. Like I said, we talked about it earlier when we were talking about the 49ers. I don't trust the Cardinals. I don't trust Kyler Murray. I just don't trust the franchise. I don't think they got a good team this year. I think they're going to be the worst team in the division. And I think the Cowboys could possibly be better. So that puts the Cowboys going into their bye at week 10. They're going into their bye 5-4. The Las Vegas Raiders. I'm giving the Cowboys a win. New regime, Pete Carroll. You just drafted Ashton Genty, Geno Smith, Cinderella. Well, I won't say a Cinderella story. A comeback story. Another story just like Brock Purdy. You just don't have no wide receivers. Your defense is suspect as well. I don't see a scenario, even though it's on the road in Las Vegas, I don't see a scenario where the Raiders beat the Cowboys. I don't. So I'm giving the Cowboys a win. Week 12 at home against Philadelphia. I'm giving the Cowboys a win. We got to give respect to Dak Prescott. Something y'all probably don't think. Dak Prescott plays well against his division opponents. So I think we will split against the Eagles. I don't see a scenario where Dak Prescott is going to drop. If Dak Prescott is healthy, where he is going to drop 2 games to the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't see it. I see us splitting with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. We are good enough to split with the Philadelphia Eagles. This game's at home. This is normally where we always beat the Eagles, is at home. We never really win in Lincoln Financials under the tenure of Dak Prescott. This is where we beat the Eagles, at home. The Kansas City Chiefs, are they beatable? Possibly, yes. We are playing them at Jerry World, but it's the Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. No, we're not beating Kansas City. It's Kansas City. But there's not much to say about that. We all know why. Okay, it's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. Y'all can, but I'm not. Week 14 against the Detroit Lions. This is possibly a pick'em game as well. I think the Lions are going to have a down year this year. Still got a good offense. I just don't know what they're going to do without Ben Johnson and their defensive coordinator. I cannot think of the guy's name. I want to look it up, but I just don't want to sit here and pause the podcast because I want to be able to work on making this fluid and not having no pauses or anything in cuts. I want it to be as raw as possible. But I'm interested to see what the Lions do without them having their 2 hot coordinators. They both lost their 2 hot coordinators, so Dan Campbell is going to have to look. And I don't even know who their offensive defensive coordinator is right now. That's a big hole to fill. Hutchinson is going to be coming off a broken fibula. You still got Sonic and Knuckles at running back. You still got Jared Goff. Offensive line should still be good as well. Defense could possibly be suspect a little bit. But I do think we're going to be in Ford. The Lions is going to be looking for revenge. I think Dallas loses to the Detroit Lions. If it was at Dallas, I would probably think it different. But again, this is one of the pick'em games that I am talking about that could possibly change the trajectory of what the Dallas Cowboys could be like in this season. Next game, Week 15 against the Vikings. This is another pick'em game. I don't know what the Vikings are going to be this year. This game's out. I'm actually give Dallas the win on this one. I don't know what J.J. McCarthy is going to be. I do trust Kevin O'Connell. This is going to be a type of game where we're going to see if getting rid of Sam Darnold is going to be a bad idea or a great idea. I just don't. I gotta wait and see. I got to wait and see. Week 16 against the Chargers. God, guys, the more I look at this schedule is actually pretty freaking brutal. Wow. Look, I'm a Chargers guy. I love me some John Harbaugh. I do. I'm a John Harbaugh guy. I love him. I love the way he coaches football. I love his game plan on offense and on defense. Sorry, not John. Jim Harbaugh. I love Jim Harbaugh. Okay. I just love the way he calls football. He just won the Natty with Michigan Wolverines. He had a good year with Justin Herbert last year. Obviously, they disappointed in the playoffs as well. Justin Herbert's got to get over the playoff heebie-jeebies. I just love the Chargers. I love what they built over there with that coaching staff. I love what they did with the draft, beefing up the running back position. They got a great O-line. That defense was a top 3 defense last year. I believe regular season Chargers, buy into them. Maybe not in the playoffs, but I'm going to buy into them in the regular season. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh and the guys. So 8-7. Week 17, this is where we finally lose to the Commanders. We got 8-8. This is where we split at Washington. So there you go. Not much to say about that. Then the final game, Week 18 against the Giants. I have us winning. I think we're going to beat the Giants both times. I still don't. I still think the Giants have a lot of work to do. So right here, as I'm talking with you guys, we are sitting at 9-8, above 500. With there being some key games that could be a flip 'em game to where we could possibly be 11-6, 10-7. I picked these games that are surefire, I think, W's. There are games like the Bears, the Broncos, the Lions, and the Chargers and Vikings. 5 games that are pick'em games for the Cowboys. So there could be a scenario where Dallas could be 10-7, like I said a while ago, 11-5, or Dallas could be 8-9 or 7-10. So there we go. Inevitably, I do think the Dallas Cowboys could win 10 games. If they're, I don't know, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the betting odds right now for the Cowboys are like 8.5 wins, 8 wins maybe, or 9. I'm betting the over. I think the Cowboys could win 9 or 10 games. I think that's their peak is 11. I don't see a scenario where they're going to win 11 games. I don't. I think 8, 9, 10, 11 is the sweet spot for me. So that's it, guys. I enjoyed that. That was very fun. Let me know if you want me to think about any or react to anybody else's schedule and give my perspective on that as well. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to have an okay year. We got to wait and see. Regular season, they do pretty good, but we all know what haunts them is the postseason. Is Brian Schottenheimer and the new coaching staff going to be able to elevate Dak Prescott into being back in MVP form? Can we make the defense more transcendent like it was 2 years ago? All of these are questions that are waited to be answered. It's a very interesting season for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm very excited to see what happens because it is one of these years. It hasn't been like this in a while where it's kind of like, I don't know what the Cowboys are going to be. Obviously, the last 3 years, we were able to say going into the season, okay, the Cowboys could win the division. I don't think they're going to win the division this year, but they might surprise people. They really could. It all just weighs in on the health component. Trayvon Diggs being somewhat close to what he was. Same thing with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has to play all 17 games. What does the dynamic look like with George Pickens? Can we establish the run game? Can we stop the run? All of that has got to be answered this season, and it is going to be answered. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all rides. But I cannot wait for the NFL season. I think OTAs actually started today for the Dallas Cowboys, so see if we got any interesting news going in on that. And that is all I have today for this portion of the Alpha Podcast. I thank you all for joining me. If you have listened this far, do not hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Check out all my other videos in the description below when it relates to pop culture and sports. Mostly sports because that's what the audience is here consuming that. But if you are interested in anything comic book or pop culture, check the description below and get all that. When I got trailer reactions and Comic Book Podcast, where I talk about the hottest news in pop culture. And as well, check out all my sports stuff. I got a lot to talk about there as well. I thank you guys for joining me for yet another episode of The Alpha. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, love, and positivity always, y'all. See ya.